Yes, there was a transfer window for competitive Siege between Reload and Stage 1. It was only about 2 weeks, and teams could only swap one player or coach before the regular season starts. And you might not have known that it was a thing because almost nobody did anything with it. The idea was make sure you're as confident in your roster before Reload as possible, because you're not going to be able to make wholesale overhauls to it if for some reason something isn't working right. If teams really needed a get out of jail free card, then that's what this mini preseason transfer window was. And clearly, only a few teams thought they actually needed to use it. For context, North America and South America both didn't do anything. All 20 of those teams are going in the same way they came in. Though, Wildcard did decide to add Lagonis as a head coach, which is curious. After Liquid, he played for Keydstars in a failed bid to make the SAL through Challenger, so this way he gets to stay in Tier 1 because nobody opened up a roster spot for him. It's a bit interesting because it doesn't look like he's coached before, and Wildcard did just make a LAN semifinal with Justin at the helm, but one, it was Reload, and two, putting a major winner fresh off a few years on Liquid behind that team doesn't seem like a bad idea on paper if Wildcard thought they could use the coaching help. And what I said about this team before still stands. If every other roster Wildcard has fielded hasn't worked out, yet bringing in 2 imports onto a young core was good enough to make semifinals at LAN, why not add a coach who's won a major before and just see what happens? Why not make the experiment even more interesting? That's my thought. Elevate also made Reload main stage, but decided Semper wasn't the way and picked up Stemp. Semper didn't have a great tournament and went dead even on entry despite taking the most first engagements, and Stemp was the top player on a Keydstars team in Stage 2 of last year who also took point on entry. I don't have a thought on this move one way or the other until we see how the Brazilians do in Asia over the next few weeks, but I guess it's interesting how even getting to the playoffs of an exhibition event still made some teams consider that they needed to make more adjustments before the league year began. In that sense, it's nice that the partner teams did have the ability to check their lineups in that way. Fnatic didn't have as good a time in Rio, so they opted to swap out Jaksu, who, by Siege GG's metrics, was the highest rated player of the whole tournament despite only playing 4 maps. He had what looks like a great individual showing, and then Deepak confirmed it was more to do with something developing internally that they hadn't made enough progress in fixing. So they were willing to sacrifice that glimpse they had from Jaksu because things just weren't syncing correctly. So they picked up Wizard. Not the NIP one, the Good Intentions one, who has apparently had one of the fastest console to Tier 2 to Tier 1 trajectories of anybody in recent memory, and doesn't even have a Wikipedia page yet. This is Fnatic screaming, trust the process, all the way. They still start the stage with a rookie, just not the one that they went to Rio with, and I'm assuming that they're hoping Wizard can be just as good, if not better, than Jaksu while still being moldable to the team's internal process. If that works, then we might be telling stories about this kid for a while, assuming Fnatic can break the brutal cycle that they've been in for most of the last 2 years. Wolves also dove into the T2 pool and took Crex to replace Oscr. Played for the same team Wizard did in Challenger, looks like another potential prodigy who didn't need much playtime in T2 to make a statement, and according to Kendrew, was the best option to be a bona fide first entry. And I've seen pros online have nothing but good things to say about him. Wolves didn't go to Rio, so they made the call to seek this change sometime during their break between Malta and now. So I would hope that that's enough time to get the new blood integrated, but where Fnatic can compare their performances with and without that Jaksu performance on LAN, Wolves getting Crex feels a little more covert or clandestine because they didn't see that team play a major competition with the original stack. So I am curious to see how the man does. And lastly, the move you clicked on this video for. G2 saying goodbye to UUNO to pick up STOMPN. I've been thinking the same thing as you, trust me. First time in Siege history a team from overseas is importing a North American player, one of the best players in NA Challenger last stage bar none, and now G2 is more than 50% American, North and South, before we even count the coaching staff. And somehow the biggest winner from this whole thing might be the Jinxieverse.
I'm taking over. Let's go, baby!
I remember the conversation around STOMPN before he even made Challenger with M80X, how he seemed pro-ready and there might be teams that would want to take a chance on him immediately. I remember the G2 performance in Rio that looked a little off because they made some changes in roles. But I still don't think I fully comprehend how this move makes sense yet, even after all the signs pointed in this direction a few weeks ago. For as good as the kid clearly is, and for as much as I hope it works out for him, it's turned G2 into a mystery box for this year, where I really want to reserve judgment until we see how they play. Most of my reaction right now is probably just shock, but I guess I can't be too surprised because this is the same org that pulled the trigger on Monacy, one of the best, if not the best prospect in CS, and he went on to win Rookie of the Year honors in 2022. STOMPN feels like he could be a prospect on a similar level, and that alone is enough to make me want to watch it and see if it works out, and see if G2 pulling the trigger works out for both player and club. But no matter what happens, I think Twitch chat probably found its replacement for when does Bolo play. Now they're going to be asking when does Fens play. Beyond that, Envy came in and picked up JJ and company. Luminosity dropped their NA team, but they'll still be allowed to compete without an org. 3 of the orgless teams from APAC now have homes, to a point where I think there's only 3 teams worldwide that are competing without one, which is pretty great. And Stage 1 starts up for everyone this week. For every other roster move I didn't talk about here, all of the other videos I did on the roster shuffle over the last month still apply. So if you're curious about what the landscape of Comp Siege looks like in 2025, go watch those videos, then rewatch this one so you're fully caught up on where everything is at right now. The next broadcast you can catch me on is the South American League beginning in July, but we've got a lot of Siege to get through for the next few months. So sit back and enjoy it, baby, because this is what it's all about. I'll see you later. Peace.